12 Steps to National Collapse, a blueprint for how democracies die. People are baffled. I mean, why are Trump and his Republican lickspittles so intent on gutting our government, destroying our alliances and reputation around the world, and screwing working class people while transferring over $50 trillion from the morbidly rich, or to the morbidly rich? Historian Kevin Cruz captured the zeitgeist brilliantly, reflecting widespread public bewilderment when he posted over on Blue Sky, quote, "We've had F-ups in the White House before, but never a president who seemed so deliberately intent on being an F-up." He said the whole word. It's been said before, but if these people were actual agents of an enemy power seeking to divide, dismantle, and destroy the United States, they wouldn't be doing anything different. End of quote. So let's engage in a simple thought experiment. If you or I were hired by Putin, or an angry group of billionaires who want to end democracy, or a wealthy serial killer, and our orders were to tear our democracy apart, our country apart, and make us vulnerable to foreign takeover, what would we do? What steps would we take? As I mentioned a few days ago, if we follow the dictator's playbook, there actually is a single 12-step formula to make that happen. This is all too familiar to me. You wake up with a scratchy throat, congestion, runny nose, and cough. You know your body. You know you're getting sick, right? Well, what are your choices? Tough it out, get sick, and take time off work? Hope the doctor can see you this month? Wait 2 hours at urgent care and have people cough all over you? Or open your medical emergency kit like mine. I just match my symptoms to the doctor-recommended prescription, start at the right meds, and nip this thing in the bud right now. This is not a first aid kit. It comes with doctor-prescribed meds to treat dozens of common and serious medical issues. Strong antibiotics for infections of all types, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, bronchitis, and a lot more. Plus, a doctor's easy guide so you'll know exactly what to take and when. No waiting to see the doctor, no waiting at the pharmacy. My meds are in my kit. Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit. You can get $35 off at urgentcarekit.com/Tom, T-H-O-M, when you check out. That's promo code Tom at urgentcarekit.com/Tom. The first step would be to turn Americans from e pluribus unum, which is out of many one, into hate-filled warring factions. Turn us against each other. Divide us by race, religion, gender, region, education, income, and whether we live in cities or rural areas. In Immanuel Kant's Perpetual Peace, 1795, he described the first three strategies that he said despotic moralists used to rip apart the fabric of a society. They were, and in Latin, face et excusa, act now and make excuses later. Si facisti nega, if you commit a crime, deny it. And divide et imperia, divide and conquer. Thomas Jefferson perhaps inspired Kant when in 1787 he wrote, "Divide et imperia is the reprobated axiom of tyranny." You know, when Hitler claimed that Jews, gypsies, and queer people weren't real Germans, he was invoking that principle. Joe McCarthy tried to divide us by political ideology. David Duke said we should be separated by skin color. Its most recent invocation was just last week when Trump and Hegseth told our nation's generals that most black, Hispanic, and female officers were only in their positions because of their gender or their color. Whiskey Pete was blunt, claiming that Reagan's invocation of America's traditional belief that, as Reagan said, our diversity is our strength, was, as Hegseth said, an insane fallacy. Next, to destroy our country, we'd want to immiserate as many Americans as possible, creating a huge pool of mostly white men who are pissed off because they've been left behind economically and feel locked out of the American dream. That strategy would include several steps. Destroy unions that bind workers together with their employers and raise standards of living. Gut programs that lift people out of poverty and into the middle class, including high-quality universal public education, low-cost college, and inexpensive access to health care. Ship manufacturing overseas to low-wage nations while using incoherent, ever-changing, whim-based tariffs to batter the domestic economy. Build media operations that demonize the other, telling them that blacks, Hispanics, queer people, and women are the cause of their troubles. Ban books that embrace diversity and teachers who use them. spread hate and conspiracy theories to powerful social media and search engine algorithms that make them seem normal, coarsening our entire culture, throw people off programs offering health care, student debt repayment, and housing subsidies. And that would do it. I mean, that would tear us apart, right? So then third, we'd want to destroy people's faith in straightforward news. Loudly proclaim that it all has a left-wing bias and can't be trusted, that reporters are elite enemies of the people, and attack the media relentlessly. Fourth, you would shatter people's faith in reality itself, challenge science and expertise, flood the zone with conspiracy theories, convince citizens to stop taking common sense steps to protect themselves and their children. You know, things like vaccinations, precautions against airborne diseases like masks, or measures to slow climate change. Sow confusion until they no longer know who to believe, and then offer yourself as the only source of truth. Yeah, just watch us here on Fox News. Fifth, you would deconstruct international alliances that go back centuries in some cases by alienating our traditional friends and embracing openly hostile foes while tearing up the norms of defense, trade, and commerce. Sixth, you would fracture citizens' faith in their elected officials and the government itself. Legalize the practice of morbidly rich people and giant corporations buying legislation and the loyalty of politicians with cash by claiming that money is speech and corporations are just people, don't you know? Define opposition political parties as radical, dangerous, and outside the mainstream. Seventh, you would turn the military and the police forces of the nation against its own people, making the people terrified of challenging armed, masked men in the streets who are kicking in their doors at midnight. You start with vilified minorities like immigrants, and when they're under control, you turn those forces against anybody who dissents from the new single-party rule and the police state. Eighth, you would demolish faith in the nation's currency by seizing political control of the central bank while villainizing the leadership. Ninth, you run scams to accumulate as much wealth as possible in the hands of dear leader and his close cronies and his family while refusing to raise the minimum wage, specifically to keep people in poverty. 10th, you use the power of government to force institutions, corporations, universities, law firms, into complete submission and even explicit collaboration in the enshittification of the nation. It's a brand new word. It's in Webster's this year. 11th, you would seize control of the legislative and judicial branches so your law-breaking, election rigging, and bribe-taking is never held to account. You openly and brazenly break laws like the Hatch Act that forbids the use of any government agency or property for political or commercial purposes. You force agencies to make illegal partisan statements denigrating the opposition party, and you defy anybody who calls out that naked criminality, sneer and laugh at those who demand that people committing crimes in office should be held accountable. And 12th, you turn the nation's premier law enforcement agencies into tools for punishing political enemies while ignoring the crimes of friends of the regime, thus destroying faith in equality under the law and terrorizing anybody who speaks out. All of these 12 steps have been used by every despot in history, from the ancient Roman Empire through the kings of the Dark Ages to the fascists of early 20th century Europe to today's strongmen, including Orban, Putin, Erdogan, El-Sisi, Maduro, Netanyahu, and Modi. Whether Trump has put America on this road at the insistence or by the payment from Putin, right-wing billionaires, or just his own authoritarian impulses and with strategies he's learned from Orban and Putin, it doesn't have to end with America resembling today's Russia or Hungary. The good news is that multiple countries have elected men to leadership who tried to run through this list and were stopped before they could finish the job. Instead of letting their leaders turn their nations into permanent autocracies, the people rose up and took the power back for themselves and their democracies. Those countries include Ukraine, the Philippines, Brazil, Poland, Zambia, Sri Lanka, Guatemala, Peru, South Korea, Romania, North Macedonia, Slovakia, Gambia, Malawi, Moldova, and South Africa. History shows that any democracy can fall into tyranny if its citizens grow cynical, give up, or look away. The only question that matters now, is whether enough of us will choose to stand up, to act, and to reclaim what generations before us fought and bled to pass along. like the citizens of those countries listed above who have done in the recent past. If they can do it, so can we. Tag, we're it. So what say you? It's Anything Goes weekend here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll get to your calls and a little more of the news of the day. Apparently Stephen Miller's dreams since childhood have been about torture and pain. I mean, this is bizarre. I'll share that with you in just a minute. And also, Europe may be on the verge of a nuclear disaster. This is a big deal. Stick around. We'll be right back.